What is up, everybody? Keith Jamison, aka Gator Guy 231, here to break down 4 EPL games on Wednesday, July 8th. We've got a 3-game classic at 1, and then Liverpool Brighton showdown shortly after. It was a good day on Tuesday. This preview yesterday got a lot right. I think everybody should have been on Willian and Pulisic. I think those were the 2 really easy plays. Will Hughes was a little bit of a disappointment, but very popular. And then just kind of down the line, it really depended on how you filled. But with some of the value, like Onel Hernandez was a guy that I highlighted, got the first assist to Buendia. With no Dudo, made Buendia a decent cash play. I ended up on him despite, not thinking there was a ton of upside. Of course, he scores the goal. But, had things like Danny Welbeck was on here. We had the joke Craig Dawson header goal, which came to fruition. I didn't get to see it. I don't know if it's a header or not, but he did score. About the only thing I didn't get right personally was like no Giroud at all. That guy's like a blank spot for me. I just can't ever roster him. But show up the goal. Good for him. Let's try to do it again today, because today's slate is going to be a lot different. And the fact that you're just going to have to get Man City right. And let's look at the odds, and we'll go over why that's the case. All right, so we go down. First thing that sticks out and should stick out to you, Man City is a minus 1,000 favorite at home to Newcastle. We just saw this game. I can't remember if it was last weekend or the weekend beforehand, but Man City absolutely dominated Newcastle at Newcastle, winning 2-0. Really wasn't that close. And funny enough, Newcastle should have scored. Dwight Gale had a open net sitter that he sailed over the bar. The game could have been different, but, the game, if you replayed that game out again, Man City could have scored 4 or 5. They had the ball the entire game. Newcastle just sat very, very deep, just looking for any sort of mistake to counter on, which is where the Dwight Gale opportunity came from. So I'll be going over this, but this is what, we term, if you're new to DFS Soccer, as a Man City slate, meaning you are just trying to get as much of the Man City as possible. You just have to pray that you get it right and let the rest, be what it is. Wolves are a slight favorite away to Sheffield, plus 110. That is a whopping 2 total, and by the Man City, 3.5 total. And then for the final game of the Classic Slate, we got West Ham slight favorite at home, minus 105 to Burnley away. That is a whopping 2.25 total. So as you can see, it is a Man City slate. The goals are in Man City. The favorites in Man City. You're going to want Man City in your lineup. So let's take a look at that lineup first, and I'll quickly go over that showdown as well. So I actually think that this has a really good chance to maybe be what Pep does roll out. Gabriel Jesus is struggling since taking over for Sergio Aguero. Probably needs a day off, maybe come in as a sub, get a goal that way. But he really can play Raheem Sterling through the middle. That's happened in a few FA Cup games, and Raheem Sterling was quite good. And that will pave the way to get Phil Foden back into the lineup as well. Big point will be, does he play Mahrez or not? Mahrez was actually an early sub last game, so I'm interested to see what happens there. I thought Bernardo Silva was quite good. Definitely was a lot more lively than Mahrez, but Mahrez did get the quick sub, and Bernardo played throughout. So let's start with the obvious. Kevin De Bruyne should be the first guy into every single lineup that you have. He is the god of EPL DFS, and with City coming off of that really quite awful loss to Southampton. Now, it doesn't matter that much. City's still going to finish second in the table. Their sights are towards Europe and to the FA Cup, but I don't think Pep is going to let the players think that. I think, kind of getting into the stage where they really need to start ramping up. I really do think this is going to be potentially a City onslaught. Even if goals don't occur, like if Dubravka steps his head, there's a good chance that you can see De Bruyne, with 15, 20 DK, just on floor. Mahrez could be the same. Foden is really starting to just pump in shots. So you could have a situation where if it takes City 50, 60 minutes to score goals, similar to Southampton, the guys are still absolutely destroying it from a DFS aspect. So De Bruyne is option number 1. That's both cash and GPP. In cash, I think a lot of people want to play Mahrez if in. Does split some sets with KDB and a solid DFS contributor. Then I think people are going to want to play Foden. So especially when you look at his log. So here's the thing about City. You want to play 4 attackers. Like, I would like to play Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, Sterling, Foden. Salary cap's not going to really allow that. I mean, just like double check that that's the case. But as I'm pulling up DK app, let me just go over the other plays. So this is a game where, especially if City is struggling to score early, you can see Mendy and Walker bomb forward a ton. We saw that over the weekend where Zinchenko, I want to see how many he exactly finished with, but Zinchenko was finished with 12 crosses. Cancelo finished with 6 crosses, so 18 crosses on fullbacks, because they were literally playing as wingers by the end of the game. Southampton had just put 8, 9 guys in the box, was just clearing everything. So City, would try to attack to the middle, and if not, move it out to the wings where the fullbacks would be, and they just cross the ball into the box. So that, is very, very possible. Mendy is actually a better crosser of the ball than Zinchenko. So it really just depends on flow. But these are the games when, City's not going to have to do a ton of defensive work, that I do like targeting Mendy. So there's a good chance he might be your 4th City piece. And, you're really going to have to start deciding. I think the decision really is going to come down, is it Sterling or Mahrez? Because I think a lot of people are going to want to play Foden for the discount over them. So then it becomes, I can only fill 1 forward spot. It's going to be Sterling or Mahrez. But the other option you could say is that, forward is pretty rough and there might be some midfield punts. So I go ahead, take Sterling and Mahrez, fade Foden, go to KDB. This is just classic. We'll go over showdown in a minute. But yeah, so let me just quickly plug that in here and see if that is actually even doable to do Mahrez and Sterling. So let's go. We'll go with Mahrez. We're going to go Sterling. We're going to go KDB. And we'll try to get Foden. And it's just not going to work. 2,825 left. If we take the cheapest goalie, which we'd have to take Dubravka, yeah, we still can't get there. So you can't do that. You can absolutely drop Foden off and then just kind of punt everywhere else. And then have Mahrez, Sterling, and De Bruyne. If you don't play Mahrez, though, and you play Sterling, you play Sterling and Foden together and punt second forward, you can make a little bit of a decent lineup. But this is this is what City slates do and why they kind of suck, because you're starting to have to make these decisions. You're like, all right, do I want to play a Sheffield United second forward, David McGoldrick or Les Musset, or do I want to just punt, not play a couple of these solid, low tier midfielders in the 5K range and have to play in these low 3K and pray for a goal or pray for 5 or 60K just because I have to jam City in. And all the while, I'm going to begin into this in a minute, you actually look and you go, is Jared Bowen actually the best forward play on the slate? But you go, how can I not use the salary on a minus 1,000 favorite? That is City slates and the torture that they bring. On Classic, I'm not even going to go to Newcastle. You're not playing anybody. You do not play anybody on 3-game state from plus 2,000 favorite. If you want a Dwight Gale 2% revenge goal that he hits the sitter this time, you go for it. But the odds of him scoring here are so slim. And to use up that spot, I cannot see it. So I will not have any Newcastle in Classic. And on Showdown, I will have the one that I have to have. And, if I have 2, it's because I'm trying to jam in scorers. And it's probably 2 center backs. It's probably Jamal Lascelles and Fernandez, or maybe it's Nabil Bentaleb or all this. I don't need to analyze Newcastle for you. You're not playing them here. Can you play Dubravka and hope that he gets a 10-save game like McCarthy? Absolutely. He might be the best play on Newcastle if you think that City could struggle to score. All right, I want to go over Ederson, because here's the thing. I just gave you the showdown preview of City 2. De Bruyne, probably in showdown you want to play Mahrez, but you're going to have to mix and match peaches. Everybody here is cash viable. I would try to get 2 to 3 attackers, maybe the fullbacks. The fullbacks are cheaper. And then I do think Ederson is in play on showdown. He is only 6,800 And the second showdown, Allison, who is 5 times less the favorite than Ederson, is 8,200. That's where Ederson should be priced at. It's like 82, 8,400. Really make you make a decision. At 6,800, you have to ask yourself, if I was able to get a goal, a guaranteed goal, and it's not guaranteed, so that's where the fallacy on this is, but let's just, for argument's sake, I could get a guaranteed goal, 10 DK for 7K, would I do it? Well, it's supposed to be, yeah, I do that. So Ederson's likelihood of keeping a clean sheet here, I don't care about what the Vegas odds say on a clean sheet. It's be around -1,000 favorite versus a team that's just going to be counterattacking. It's fairly good. Issue with Ederson here is if he allows one goal, there's a decent chance that he might not get another save opportunity. So you're staring at 3 DK, and your line's probably wrecked. But I do think he's going to be popular on showdown because there's a really, really high likelihood that he finishes with 10 to 12 DK. All right, let's go down to the other games and then get out of here. All right. We got Sheffield United at Wolverhampton. I think Sheffield is probably the most interesting team on the slate because they have the cheap guys that you need. So let me start out with the big thing I want you guys to watch. If not only if, but if Oliver Norwood, just for some reason not start, just needs a breather, all these things. We are, 3 weeks into this, like games every 4 days. Some of these guys are going to need some rest. But Ben Osborne at 3,100 would make this slate so much more fun. He took corners when Norwood went off last time. And again, 3,100 for – understand on Sheffield's, Norwood actually sits the deepest here. He has a lot more of the defensive responsibilities. Osborne and Burge are the guys that are able to kind of go forward and attack this byline a little bit. Like, Sheffield's just such a fun team, in my opinion, to watch. Just like their system is crazy. The center backs are overlapping. These outside center backs are overlapping. These guys are darting towards the byline. It's just, the movement's pretty damn cool. But anyhow, Ben Osborne 3,100, really interesting. Sander Burge, on the other hand, too, has been playing very, very well of late. He is all the way up to 4,500, which I think takes him out of play, but he had a goal and assist versus Spurs on July 2nd, and then on the weekend, 7.4, 4 points versus Burnley. Issue is if Norwood isn't at 5K, I really would like to play him in cash. 5K for 100% of the set pieces. He would take both sides, both corners. And Wolves, especially versus the lower tier competition. Now, here's the funny thing. Sheffield's actually in the upper tier of the table. But, versus teams that, like, Wolves should win, sometimes Wolves struggle. So I'm not, really that scared of them. Baldock and Stevens are fine. Just might not be the slate for them. The strikers for Sheffield, I am going to be paying very close attention to. Here is where the second forward punt could come in. McGoldrick is only 4,000. And if it's not him, it could very easily be Les Mousset, who is only 3,700. Now, again, this is going to go back to the city and how you decide to do this. If you say Phil Foden, that is my guy, 8,200, I'd much rather play him than 8,900 Sterling or 10,000 Mahrez, even though they fill a forward spot. You will need to fill a forward spot, and you will not have the salary to get like a Jared Bowen, to get any of the top guys. So at that point, you guys might as well come all the way down and pray and, hope that you can maybe get like an assist or a goal from one of these cheap guys. Because here's what I would argue with you, okay? So let's look under 6,000. What is the difference between David McGoldrick and Badira for Burnley or Dwight Gale for Newcastle? He's a better play than Dwight Gale. That's the big difference. From Joe Ellington, better play. Andy Carroll, if you're start, better play. And then we get to McGoldrick. So there's nothing. You could argue maybe at I don't think Yarmolenko would start at 6,300. I think he'd be okay. But the next viable second forward is all the way up at 7,100 Jay Rodriguez, 7,300 Diego Jota. So there's a huge disparity. So again, these Sheffield United guys might show up with some ownership and cash for those people deciding they want to play Phil Foden. Because I think the build is a little bit cleaner with Foden versus, let's say, Mahrez. I'm not saying that that's the better route. I'm just saying, if you plugged in, Sterling, Foden, and KDB, I think the build's a little bit more balanced versus if you have to go Mahrez, Sterling, and KDB. I think it's a little tough. Okay. I think I covered. Oh, I do want to make the one point about Sheffield. Jack O'Connell, 2,900, is a really, really good punt. Keep in mind, these Sheffield center backs that play on the outside, not so much Egan, he's just a set piece threat for headers, but Basham and O'Connell will actually cross the ball. They will, in possession, sometimes overlap Stevens and Baldock and become the widest guy in the field, which, again, why the system's pretty cool to watch. Jack O'Connell is a guy that, could really easily show up with 6 to 7 DK, and he's 2,900. Makes a lot of things work. All right, Wolves. God, it's going to be tough. They're not cheap this late. So it's going to be really tough to play any of them over city pieces. Raul Mendes is one of the lowest owned you ever see him. So if you want to try to go that route, I think that's fine. Yota, I just mentioned, is probably viable at second four. You're giving up a city piece on both of them. Just understand, if you click their name, you are giving up a city attacker on a minus 1,000 favorite. So if you want to make that happen, go for it. João Moutinho, again, he's fine. Monopoly set pieces 6,900. Normally that'd be a price that we go, man, that's a solid João Moutinho price. But at that price, again, you're probably going to give up a city player. If you do maybe want Wolverhampton exposure, or you think Ruben Neves will show up at the goal, you think Dendoncker could show up, it's great. Go for those plays. I think that's the only route you go. The fullbacks are also expensive, like Doherty 5,400, Johnny 5,000. Again, I just don't think it's slate for it. So Wolves, for me, I just don't think that you end up with, which just makes them that great of a GPP play. So, if you just want huge leverage, you pick one city piece, just play De Bruyne, maybe City wins 1-0 on a PK and it's in. You'd be rocking at that point. All right, West Ham versus Burnley. It's going to be a lot of the same. It's just going to be so hard to fit any of these guys with what you're going to have to do with City. West Ham, I do think. Let me get a quick drink real fast. Go Gators. But I do think if this was like almost any other state, or let me actually rewind. I really hate DK for how they price Jared Bowen. I would love to actually leverage off of like maybe only play 2 city pieces if I could get Jared Bowen for like, let's say 8K. He's 9,500. He's more than Raheem Sterling. He's more than Phil Foden. He's only 500 less than Riyad Mahrez. He is so difficult to play. If you feel good that he is going to show up with a goal or assist or show up with 15 to 20 DK, and you feel super solid that he's going to do that, you can play him. It's just really hard to sacrifice the city piece to make it happen. Here's Bowen's last, 6 games, 20.2 with an assist. So take away the assist and you have about 14 DK. 20.1 and 2 assists. Without that, it's about 8 floor points. 12.5, 11.3, 13.6, and then 24.6 with the goal. So take away the goal, and that's about 14.6. Those are fantastic floor numbers. And now they are a favored matchup versus a Burnley team that away from home can definitely end up having a bunker. I think he's very in play. I want to do it. I just will tell you, and just to be honest with you guys, I try to be as honest as I can on these previews. I don't think I will have him. But he is the majority set taker at this point. When Noble is on, we saw Noble come in last game and did take a corner. So maybe it's a split. But with West Ham, they don't produce a ton of corners. You're not playing Bowen for 13 crosses. You're playing him for, just a lot of stuff he does. Tackles, fouls drawn, shot assistance, shots itself, goal upside, assist upside, all that. He's just their primary playmaker. Phenomenal signing by them in January. Probably saved them from a relegation battle. So good for West Ham, good for Jared Bowen. Very much in play. Mikel Antonio, GPP, Mark Noble on PK duty and potentially some sets. So if you want a cheap punt, I think you can do a lot worse. I think a lot of us are still sour from that Tottenham game when he was chalk and was absolutely awful. But 4,400, if you're in there, that range, split sets and PK upside, we've stretched thinner, So I think that's very in play. Pablo Fornals just been awful from a DFS perspective. They still like him there, but DFS, there's no way in hell other than, a stack that you're paying 5,400 or you're paying even 400 more than him than Nor would have been. Aaron Cresswell has lost sets, but still a fine fullback. Ryan Federicks, if he was 3K, he'd be in play, but at 4,500, no chance. And then Susek, technically, he's on a run, right? 2 straight games with the goal. So you can do it, but let's see how out of control his price is. Yeah, 5,700, no thanks. Declan Rice would be a better play, point per dollar at only, let's see. Sorry, I did not study these prices, and you know why? Because you're city pieces. That is the slate. On the other side, Burnley, I don't think any of these guys are in play. If you want a cheap punt like Eric Peters at 4,000, he fills a defender slot. He's technically more attacking here. Go for it. Otherwise, I just think that you're going to pass. Just understand, when I say like pass, like they're not going to have any ownership. So if you have like a really good feeling anywhere or another, you think Jay Rodriguez is going to show up the goal, which is very possible. He's going to be so low owned. Go for it. Like I think that that's a great GPP route to go any of these guys. But just in cash or optimal, it's going to be City. And that's the classic slate. Let's go into the Liverpool Brighton showdown. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this. First thing I want to say, let's go back up to odds on it real quick. Liverpool minus 181 away to Brighton, 2 3/4 total. So do not be surprised if we see some Liverpool rotation. First off, I think this will be let me just make sure that there's no injury news that I was not aware of before I pull this on. So we've got Liverpool side of things. It's Milner doubtful, Lovren doubtful, Joel Matip is still out. Nobody really missing from Brighton. There's no chance that this is not Roberto Firmino over Divock Origi, who brought nothing to the squad last time. Now, you could see Klopp rotate maybe Salah or Mane. Here's what the thing I want to say about Liverpool. I think the last 2 games proved to me as a Liverpool fan a lot of like what the rest of the season may be. It's just really hard for them to get up for these games right now, considering everything's locked up. I truly thought before the City game that Liverpool was going to come out just blitzing, so pumped to win the league, wanting to set every record. And the last 2 games since that happened does not appear to be the case. So, look, this game could change it all, right? And, Brighton's not exactly a team that you're going to, want to stack up against Liverpool. So I still think the builds are going to still end up being very similar to what you would do if Liverpool was at its height. You're probably going to be choosing between Salah and Mane, maybe both, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andrew Robertson, and then just kind of filling in the pieces from there. I'll just tell you, when I was building, you can easily go Salah, Mane, TAA, but you probably aren't going to get Robertson. Or you can do the classic Liverpool showdown build, which is Trent Alexander-Arnold captain, plug in Robertson, especially since he's taken some corners as of late, and then you pick between Salah, Mane, fill out the rest, and make it work. If you do think that Liverpool is just off the game and off the pace, which they have been for 2 straight games, playing some Brighton here is not crazy. So if this lineup happens, which I do think they're trying to get as much Alexis McAllister before the loan period is up, he would be on almost all the sets. We saw him take over Moy previously. Maybe it's a split, but you could easily play like McAllister and Moy. Aaron Connolly's still cheap. Nice young player that could show up with a goal. It's probably not a Neil Maupay slate, but, he can always show up with a goal. Screw that he didn't show up at all versus Norwich. But he could always show up. Then Lamptey's a nice fullback. Dan Burn is close to stone minimum. So there's some Brighton pieces you can go. And if you want to be contrarian, play Matt Ryan in a lineup. He's going to be so low owned for how bad that Liverpool struggled. I can totally see it. So I still think, in cash, the 2 constructions that you're looking at is TAA plus Salah and Mane if you think Liverpool's going to score 2 to 3. If not, TAA, Robertson, pick Salah or Mane, and go from there. Guys, just want to thank you all for continuing to tune in. Please hit, if this is your first time, please hit subscribe, like, comment. We really appreciate it. Congrats again to all the winners yesterday, and let's make it happen again today. Take it easy.